Hello, everyone, and welcome to Meticulous Talks on June 24th. I'm Chris Accords.
And I'm Hifrock.
Good to talk to you, Hithrock.
Yeah. 2 weeks no see.
2 weeks, yeah. No longer than usual. But, well, they were an exciting 2 weeks. I guess, neither of us participated in the OnlineCon event. But I did watch some of the games. And there was some interesting stuff. I was blown away by how I guess I should say how much white as a color showed up. Out of these 8 decks, 6 of them have white as an element. Admittedly, not always a particularly major element, but there, sure.
Is it finally time?
Maybe. As Bugle already brings up in the chat, we both also have egg on our face for not reviewing We're Back highly enough. Did not see the amazing kind of loop that you could pull off with it for keeping troublemakers in play. Surprising, given that immediate put troublemakers into play. That's kind of all it's ever been good for.
What did we rate it at?
Both as a 1.
Cool.
Which made sense at the time, as white control was nowhere before Prize Wheel 2 came out. But turns out this is all it was missing. And now it's real good. Or at least seems like it.
Yeah.
Which throws all manner of complication into the predictions of how things are going to go for Continentals. Because that Celestia deck, the Unicorn combo, seems perhaps somewhat vulnerable to this new strategy in play. But one loss. It's lost once, I suppose. No trend line yet, but this is the first core tournament for a while where that deck did not come out on top when it was entered.
Yeah.
So, shall we get to the 8?
Yeah. Let's do it.
Okay. So, the other theme, I guess, that I noticed is, this perhaps only comes to me because I monitor all the results for TIA. I feel like I've seen a lot of white-orange decks lately. There were, I guess, 2 of them in this event, and there were, let me just look at the last Coco, 2, 3. Yeah, there were 3 different white-orange decks in the last Coco. And then, a few more than at Winnie City. And they've all been different. They've all done different things with the colors. Some people who go for the mill strategy. Some people who do it for Reanimator. Mill, I should mention, like Instagram here, the deck that I'm showing. Some people who do Reanimator. Some people who do Control with it now. It seems like it's also suddenly become the most popular color combination in Core. But sorry, go on.
I'm all for it. We haven't seen white in a long, long time.
I mean, it's hard to say exactly because white shows up in so many different places. Like it was part of the Celestia Tutor deck,
I
the
mean, yeah, but
combo,
like not really.
and it's been part of Reanimator forever.
Also doesn't count.
Like yeah,
But I see your point. Yeah.
yeah. It tends to be a chameleon color that just kind of shows up wherever it's needed, which is generally all the time. But yes, here we're looking at Instagram's deck. This is white orange. This is Mill. Using the usual suspects of the like playing the odds. We develop most traditional. Raise this barn is something I don't see all of the time in mill decks lately, but it works. 6 cards for 3 AT. And Rock Turret as the win condition, of course.
This is. We've seen a deck like this like very recently, like at Winnie City, right?
Yeah,
I don't
Animoy's
remember who.
deck.
Oh, Anemoy. That's right.
Yeah, and he played something similar in this tournament. He incorporates purple
Yes.
for well, yeah, mostly for I'm the friend you need and Luna.
Yeah, but this is pure orange white.
That's right. And so I watched Animoy's deck once in this event, and from what I understood in watching that, I like in the ways that they are the same. These decks are basically the same. They do the same thing with your bike and Bell, etc. It seems like it's actually not hard at all to deck out your opponent in the space of a Swiss match. The problem is based on that one game I saw, the problem's going to be winning once that's happened before time expires.
Yeah, that was my concern last time we saw a mill deck.
Hmm.
Because like once you mill them out, you have to win too.
Yeah, and Rock Turret certainly helps. This deck, admittedly, I think Animoy's list runs Stygian to get many multiple copies of Rock Turret. This deck only has the 3 of them. It certainly helps, but it's still not easy, especially as the opponent is like in the time that it took you to get them all the way out. They've probably scored 10 points somewhere in that area, especially once they realized you were a mill deck and decided to try to score points as fast as possible.
Maybe we need reverse living to love.
Maybe. See, like I'm a little bit torn on this, frankly, because like the thing about mill is that if it's too good, it's really not fun to play against.
Yes.
And so in this position where we are right now, where the milling part works, like it'd be so. If you're Sim trying to think about this, it's you have to be so careful not to make it too easy to get that win after you get the opponent out of cards.
So can't the win condition be other than like the rock turret? Maybe Catajack and just you keep mist spending AT on mist main?
Yeah.
Like you have the colors for that. And Catajack gets rid of their board. They only keep like one thing.
Yep. I believe
The intention there, yeah.
Animoy's deck does run Katajack, yes.
It, yeah, I guess it does. But yeah, I don't know. That might be like maybe still too slow. but it would help. Catajack especially because it would stop your opponent from doing things. Hopefully.
Hmm. Yeah. Once they're out of deck, out of stuff on board, usually they lose a bit of their requirement if they had anything left in their hand by that point. Yeah, it should be a hard lock as far as what your opponent ends up doing. You do need to, I guess one of the things is, and this is true of this deck too. Well, sorry, you were saying go for the Miss Main plan, right? Which
As a way to
makes,
score points, yes.
yeah, like I just noticed. This is an interesting thing about the Rockturret strategy, is that this deck runs a control-oriented problem deck, i.e., the problems are all very hard to confront, which is not good with your strategy of using Rock Turret to close the game out once uh, once you've hit
Yes.
that part of the game. In theory, it doesn't matter as much because the opponent's out of stuff, but at that point, the clock is your enemy. And you're also, admittedly, you've milled yourself quite a bit generally. If Spike was your main way to do it.
Yeah. But you can get Miss Main back. That's what's so good about her.
Yeah, yeah.
And like she scales with Roctorate.
Right, because
Because
it's just any points getting scored. Yes.
yes. Like the only problem is that your opponent might get something from their discard pile.
Hmm.
Maybe. But maybe like it's I don't know.
Yeah. Well, so that is another, and I guess we'll get to it when we get to Animalize deck in this event because he ran the same thing. That is one of the benefits of running purple is that he actually includes the Spirit Siphon to banish the opponent's discard pile as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But yeah, I guess I have nothing else to say.
Yep. I mean, yeah, as mentioned, we can talk more about this when we get to Animalize deck. Yeah, this is just kind of the other style of mill that we saw.
Cool.
Yeah. In seventh is Roman with a kind of interesting, also white orange. Again, this is the white orange pink reanimator. I'm making quotes here. Style. I mean, it is reanimator. It's just not. It's not a reanimator like most of us have seen before, because there are no big tricorns. It's all little things. Kind of a mini reanimator, you could say.
Sure.
Yeah, all built around tender taps and surprise summoning as your ways to get stuff out of the discard pile because we don't have +1 or catchy song or any of the usual elements. Firelight as well, I suppose, can just come out directly.
Yeah. So why run this and not just a full reanimator?
Hmm. It's that's a fair question to ask. Let's see.
Is there any reason you would want like small stuff?
So the small stuff that's in here is some neat tech, I suppose. Let me just look here. So we have Yona, which is reasonable removal against big cards. Mudbriar is a card like all Rainmaker targets, I suppose. Generally very hard to play normally.
But imagine instead of those two, you have Luna
Right,
Midnight,
that's the thing. Yeah.
which is like also a removal and also very annoying for the opponent. It's like,
Well, Luna Midnight isn't well. It's kind of sort of removal. It's only And the same way Yona is, I guess.
And
Yeah.
Yona is also only bounce, yeah.
Yeah. Very true. I think you're not getting more ways to do reanimation. Only two targets or two mechanisms. Although I suppose they are cheaper. Yeah, because tender taps you can just flip with your Piggy Sense, and surprise summoning is cheaper than +1. So your ways to do reanimation are a little bit cheaper, and because your deck is cheaper as well, you can get more use out of Student 6.
Yes. Yeah, I can see that. I can see that. Yeah, and I guess most of the stuff here is too. So Tender Tap is actually really good.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It is kind of, well, yeah. In some respects, she has turned Let Down Hard into kind of like the latest greatest creation card of being able to search up whatever tool you need for the moment, throw it into your discard pile, so that you can put it into play.
Yes. Do you need to have Tender Taps for that, though?
Yeah, this deck also has latest greatest creation in it as well, for the same purpose. One assumes. Well, actually, when I think about it, there's only three singletons in here, so it's not gonna be a super techie sideboard.
I mean, free is like what? You have Desert Road, Mudbriar, and Yuna?
Right, but the thing is, like, friends, as mentioned, don't have to be in the sideboard. They can just be in the deck, and you can search them up with Letdown Hard if you need them.
I mean, sure. But what if you need other cards in your deck that are not friends? I guess you can grab them to play this greatest creation.
Yeah. Ah. Okay, Bugle makes a good point. Yes. Put a couple of tender taps in the sideboard. That makes sense. Your reanimator and, well, reanimators. Yes. Those make sense to go in the sideboard.
I didn't get it.
Well, they're tender taps is a card that's like super key to the whole deck working, right? I mean, surprise
Oh, I
summoning.
see, I see, I see.
Yeah,
So,
and
yeah.
yeah, and you can't just throw it in the discard pile. You need to play it or flip it. So, yeah, it makes sense to make that redundant with latest greatest creation.
Okay, so you put one Tender Taps into the sideboard, right? Yeah,
Yes.
okay, I see.
Yeah.
And your latest greatest creation becomes Tender Taps. Yeah. That makes sense.
Latest greatest creation is just making me have to rethink everything about how this game works. That's the trick.
It's a tutor card for a card that's on the bottom of your deck.
You don't have to relearn how sideboards work if you never figured out how sideboards worked in the first place. Okay, so yeah,
Okay.
neat deck.
Yeah.
Right. So then, number 6 is Animoy's deck, the one that I was talking about before. These I almost just called this the traditional mill, even though it only showed up like last tournament.
Well, Animoy set the tradition now.
I suppose. Yeah, this is the archetypal mill deck now. Yeah, so as mentioned, similar structure, but with the purple flare for I'm the friend you need, Spirit Siphon, Luna, as well as he actually, from what I saw, yeah, the head mares are an interesting choice as well, mainly for the ability to copy and the friend you need to super mill the opponent. I know I'm pretty sure I saw him do that in the game that I watched.
Yeah. So
You think maybe actually? Sorry, we
no,
were
no, go ahead.
we had that conversation about win conditions. You think the new Garble might be an interesting win condition for Mill? No,
If I could remember what he does.
he's the one that when an opponent flips a card for a face-off, they no, it's hard to start face-offs. Yeah, okay, sorry.
If they don't have a deck, there's nothing to flip for them.
Well, so like it's also the when you win a problem or troublemaker face-off, you score a point. While the opponent has less cards in hand than you do.
Which Carball is that?
That's the new one. It
Oh,
also
okay.
has that
Yes, yes,
ability.
yes.
Yes,
Yes.
but it's not. And yeah, it's not that easy to start face-offs at the end of the mill deck.
Uh, if you have a stick, stick
Okay.
is pretty easy.
Hmm.
Has been always has been really one of the easiest ways to get consistent face-offs.
Yeah. Yeah. That's starting to sound plausible. Easy in the right color, of course. 5 requirement, but in that end game scenario, probably not too hard. That sounds like potentially worth trying.
Yeah, and with Rock Rate you would score more than 1 point.
Hmm.
Hmm. And having that Garble early on as well is pretty good because of the card discardal thing.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, I can see that.
As Beagle mentions, we'll see him later on in these results.
Wasn't there a Flurry Heart that also started the face-off?
Yes, she's orange pink though.
Oh, she's pink. That's right. I remember she was orange. Don't remember the second color.
Yeah,
I mean, this deck has a little
there
bit of
is a
pink.
little bit of pink in here. Blindfold is a important card to have for sure. Both for Reanimator, of course, for the Celestia combo deck, stop her from searching, and also actually for the white control decks too that want to bring stuff out of the discard pile. It's probably going to become an extremely important card, actually, uh, with the way things are looking.
Yeah. You know, do you think? No, that's a stupid idea. I was wondering if it's worth to hide a card in your sideboard and use latest greatest creation at the end. Like, have your win condition in your sideboard, and once you mill your opponent, you just get it into your hand.
I mean, that's not.
But it's like you could just run the card in your deck. Like, there's no reason to do that through latest greatest creation. I don't think so.
Well,
Like, if you're milling latest greatest creation in that sense is the same as milling the card. So
right. Well, so
unless you run it as an extra, like the 5 copies thing, like Beagle mentioned.
yeah. Like, I think that might be worthwhile because, like, with all the white that's around here, Bitter Peak is like a card that comes up a lot, and that's the kind of thing that like your control playing opponent sees a win condition hit your discard pile, which is going to happen if you're dealing with Spike, and it's just going to be gone. So I think it kind of makes sense to have a backup copy in your sideboard and increase the chances of being able to have at least one.
Yeah, maybe. It's like nothing can happen to your card in your sideboard. The only thing that could happen is you lose your latest greatest creation.
Yeah.
I mean, you're in white already. Just have a card that brings latest greatest creation.
Yeah.
Oh no, it is a resource, right?
It is a resource, and admittedly, certainly for the way that this deck is constructed, 5 white. Well, unless you have Luna out, 5 white is a bit of a stretch.
Yeah. Yeah, you kind of need a lot of things for this to happen. But I mean, hopefully you have a Sweetie Belle and a Rushed Makeover. Groggermane can search for a resource if no blindfold. Oh yeah, that's a good point. You just find your latest greatest creation and keep it in your hand, and it's forever safe.
Hmm.
Well, as far as safe being in your hand goes.
Good point. Oh yeah, I should mention. Yeah, this is Groggermane. What was Instagram's deck was also Groggermane, right? Yeah, it was. Okay.
Yes.
Which yeah. I wonder if we're gonna see many other orange mains around. I guess there was a smolder list in the Coco, I think.
I mean, wasn't the J played for a little bit?
Oh, that's right. Animoy played Applejack last Coco. Yeah. Oh, okay. There's varieties.
But Grogger does seem to lead. Grogger is pretty strong.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Bugle brings up a good point. Since it's a resource, you have to play it, and naturally your opponent has a chance to respond.
That's right.
And it can get removed before you get your win con out. But I mean, the idea that I had is that you mill them out, and hopefully they don't have any more cards in their hand. Or if they do, you make sure they don't first, and then you bring out your win condition.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, yeah. Actually, pointed out that blue has immediate speed. Well, stop you from using your latest greatest creation if they want to as well. So
Now everybody has immediate speed removal now.
everyone except pink.
Pink, yeah.
Yeah.
Does white have immediate speed resource removal?
What's the card? It's Fashion Overload. Is it immediate? I think it's immediate.
Is it?
I know someone in this tournament was running it. So let me. Yes, it is immediate.
Okay. Fair enough. So it is just pink then.
Yeah, it is just pink. Gone are the days when yellow was the only people with immediate speed resource removal.
Well, in purple.
All right, Grandpa's chimes in to agree with you that Miss Main is the ideal win con for Mill.
Hmm. I mean, it already runs white, and like, what are you gonna do with your AT anyway, right?
Mm-hmm.
The only concern is that they might get something back. But this particular list runs Spirit Siphon, so you
Yeah.
can kind of help yourself there. But in the previous list, it's more risky, I guess. It's not just a Wisconsin.
Was that? I feel like that. I feel like I
Winston.
just looked at autocorrect there. Yeah.
Okay, third time the charm. Yes, she also mills. Yeah. I forgot she milled both of the players. For
That's
some reason
true.
I thought she only milled you. I forgot. Yeah.
Yeah, actually, for the early game, like if she goes to your discard pile, great. I get to mill the opponent for was it 3 more cards?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's
Yeah, and she gets milled. It's like you're even happy about that. That's good. So
yeah. Well,
yeah,
unless the opponent plucks her out of your discard pile, which like I think they have a priority window to do that. I always forget. Is Fit a Peak meat speed or yeah, it is. So
Well, I mean, you're gonna have a Mistmane in your discard pile at some point. You can't really, if they have something to meddle with your discard pile, I don't think there's a way
well, if you're
to reliably protect yourself.
if you're doing the loop, there's never a priority window where there's a
Yeah,
Mistmane
but
in your discard pile.
this is not an AT-gen deck. You're not gonna do
Right,
the loop
right. Fair
that many
enough.
times.
Fair enough. Yeah, good point.
I mean, I guess you're gonna just bank and pass until you win. That's an option.
Yeah.
Also, there is a priority window if it's immediate, but that's not. Yeah, main phase doesn't work if you're
It
just playing Mistmanes.
it
Oh no, it's not. It's not. That's right. That's not. Yeah, she will never be in your discard pile.
yes. I see. That makes Grandfather was on his phone. Okay.
Yeah, I mean,
Okay. Anything else to say about? I think this is our last mill deck for the tournament. So
yeah.
last chance to make comments about mill as a strategy.
Uh it makes it. Never mind.
Yeah, I think we'll see it tried. In fact, it's very likely we'll see it tried with Miss Main at Continentals by somebody, and then we'll be able to see if
Yeah.
how it's looking. Alrighty. So next up is Smithers, who is our lone aggro player?
What is this? Blue yellow? What year is this?
Last year?
Nobody plays blue yellow anymore.
Well, I mean, this is yellow blue, technically.
Ah, okay. That changes everything.
Fair enough. Yeah. Yeah. This is our. I think this is the only kind of pure aggro deck in the field. Actually, let me think about Joking Luna's list here for a second. It kind of maybe fits in that.
No.
Certainly probably the most traditional deck out of any that we saw.
Yeah?
Yeah. This deck would not have looked particularly out of place last year. With the exception of the cards which are now banned, but made yellow blue such a great color combination. But he is running the rules technicality.
Well, I mean, when your entire tournament is mid range and control and mill, I think it's a safe bet to run that card.
That is a fair way to say it. Yeah. If nobody else is going to be in a position to really get to it before you, then why not, right? So let me actually look. Smithers, he was 1 and 2. His 2 losses were against Joking Luna and Tom. So he lost to the Alicorn aggro list and the combo, Celestia combo, which is a little unfortunate, I think, for this style, because Celestia combo is still near to the top of the metagame, I would think. It's not a good sign for aggro if it's not above those.
Yeah.
His win, by the way, was against Istagram's mill. for what that's worth.
So I guess the only way I can see an aggro win against mill is the aggro deck wins before it gets milled,
Yep.
which is probably what happened.
I see. So, Bugle makes the argument that if you run this mono yellow, you have a better time. Is that fair to say? It can be hard to come away from blue. Like, what powerhouse cards up in there?
Uh, so you're losing Mullet Dash. That's a big one, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, Shoe Shine is pretty good. Field Erases is your AT gen.
Mm-hmm.
And Stack Together is a fair dilemma, but Yellow has good dilemmas too. Like Sanctuary Construction or something like that.
Okay. So the argument that's well, not the counter argument to us that's developing in the chat is basically revolving around the new prize wheel cards, and the mass critters that you can get out of there. Which that's a good point. That's big synergy for Thorax. And that's yeah. I don't know if I've seen someone do that. It's always been Thorax Blue that I've seen in lists so far. It's Thorax Blue and Coco. I guess there was Thorax White, Thorax Blue White at Winnie City. I haven't seen the Thorax Mono list. Thorax Mono list, perhaps I should say, get played this year yet. Which I Oh, okay. Well, Grandpa's is telling us we'll see the thing soon enough. Fair enough. I should. Sorry. Do you watch the weekly match games that Sim posts?
Sometimes.
Do they play to a Swiss time limit?
Oh, I don't remember that. I think not, right?
Okay. I was. If they played to a Swiss time limit, then theoretically those games could count for Tia.
Uh, I don't know that will be fair, but
Yeah. Well, it's Tia isn't about players; it's about decks.
yeah, decks and tournaments.
I
Not in like a casual. Like if we play to a Swiss game at our kitchen, do we count that for Tia? We will record it, of course, and publish it.
Yes.
But like,
I mean the decks wouldn't receive like particularly high ratings. The game wouldn't count nearly as much as something played in an actual tournament, but it's still a game between two decks.
I mean, I guess. I just think tournament setting is a little different.
Yeah, I mean
So,
it's a moot point at this point.
so like if I play a deck and it like completely counters yours, and I know that's why I built the deck.
Mm-hmm.
Is that fair to count that win for the
Well,
ratings?
like it depends. Like if your deck is a custom thing that never ever sees play ever again, then it's not going to matter that much that my deck lost to yours. But as compared to a deck that actually sees play in the meta and wins all over the place, then it's like, oh, that's a bigger deal that my deck lost to yours because
Hmm.
that actually impacts its its viability. Now, admittedly, if we set aside a whole weekend and played like 30 games,
Yeah, that's what I mean.
yeah, yeah, that would actually probably cause me problems.
In almost 30 games, I win 100% of the time because I built the deck that way. Anyway,
yeah, Tia is not built for that at the moment. So I
that's
suppose
our
there's
tangent
room
for the day,
to
right?
fix that. Yeah, had to get that in somewhere. Anything else you wanted to say about Smooth's deck?
I mean, blue yellow, yes. No.
Alrighty.
I still don't miss blue yellow. It's not been
Uh,
long enough.
it hasn't been long enough. It hasn't even been a year. Um, so yeah. So next we come to the top four, to the top half, with Bugle at the 2-1 plateau playing Silverstream White. And the first, we look again at the list. The first that we could classify as a hard control deck, I think. I mean, the mill decks are kind of close-ish, but as we were talking about last stream, this is the kind of deck that comes into my brain and activates the neurons that are called control deck.
It is. It's very much a control deck.
Yep.
Because it has troublemakers in it, right?
Well, it sure does have those, yes. But it also, to your point, has no cards in it that could be classified as anything but control cards. Well, actually, there's some cards in here that are kind of unclassified, as it were. Like Claude has not showed up in like anything worthwhile, so there's no meaning attached to it. But there's definitely no aggro signs, no mid-range signs, all control signs.
Yes. So while we're on the topic of Claude, can I'm not. I don't get that card.
So it is handy,
Okay.
which is useful for both Latest Greatest Creation and Saddle Row.
Sure.
Other than that, it does work with all of your resources.
I mean, but like, is that relevant? Like, the only use, like remote use I see for that card, and I don't think it's a good use, is opponent resource removal. So I don't get that card. How? Why is it here? To as a resource removal for the opponent? Is that it? A single copy?
So
Claude is on the sideboard. You turn off a resource.
right,
And
yeah,
radial, yeah.
yeah,
Okay. So it is a resource removal. Okay.
yeah. Which let me see, what else? What other resource rule does he even have? Got
None of them?
wait, actually,
Yeah, I don't think there's any others. I mean, there's not much you get in these colors.
Winterzilla, yes, single copy
Oh
Winterzilla.
yeah, Winterzilla. Yeah,
Always
right.
remember to look at the troublemakers, but that is real light. That's for sure.
I mean, honestly, I think I would include more Winterzilla. Well, I guess raiding latest greatest creation is worth it. But I don't know.
It's a legitimate point. And actually, this is going to come up when we look at UP's deck too. I think his deck was pretty light on resource removal as well. But yeah, and let me look at the field quickly. See how big of a deal resource removal would have been in this tournament. So there. Animalized list. Got more rock turrets. Or blindfold.
Okay, well, Well, Rock Turret
Nothing
does
is
not
missed.
matter.
Rock Turret doesn't matter. Blindfold does, though.
Blindfold does, yes.
Blindfold
A
really
little bit.
does.
Yes, yes.
Yes, your weird back doesn't work
Yes, yes,
if
yes, yes, yes. Exactly. Yeah.
if blindfold's in play.
Yeah. But like, yeah, Rock Turret, it's not, like Rock Turret is non-concern because it only works when you don't have anything. So,
Yeah, it's not important at all.
uh,
And opposing Blaze Grave's creation as well. Worth pointing out
yes.
is a big target, as Bugle
But
himself
do you
pointed
play
out.
Claude for that?
Well, I mean, you've got to play some kind of resource removal, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, I guess that's true. Just play Petit Sneeze.
Out of all the players who would do it, we're looking at the deck of the one who
that's
would.
that's true. That's true.
But anyway, let's see. What else is there to say aside from that Claude? I'm gonna remember. Silver Stream is just eccentric and card draw, right? Yeah. So for those who weren't, I guess, aware, I did see the tournament. I guess those who hadn't watched this Weirback thing that we're talking about is the ability to cycle out a troublemaker in the middle of a face-off. The particularly fun bit that I saw is with the Tyrek troublemaker that lets you put the Weirback on top of your deck and put it back in your hand and play it right again, and then yeah, that forms a complete loop that can just be done as many times as you want. Which I'll admit, first time I saw that in play, it was a really good feeling. Brought back the old days. The most unusual card in here. Bugle mentions. I mean, there are several
I mean,
somewhat
Claude is very
unusual
unusual to
cards
me.
in here. We do. So, a couple troublemakers stand out. Wizard and Bloopy are both not in Grandpa's list. So there's that. Couple of other inclusion. The pink cards don't count as unusual because your deck is pink. Yeah, those troublemakers seem like kind of the clear options. And I saw in the chat Bugle bring up Luffy before, so yes, that's the single Strangen. Let's remember what this card does.
It's epic. Sometimes.
Well, often, actually. One thing that I do remember from these kinds of decks is that you get the bodyguard synergy going pretty good. So 4 or more characters at a problem sounds easy. Most of them are going to be unicorn tokens.
Okay.
So that gives you a 7 power 1 point troublemaker.
But so
Oh,
is Bonio Shadows, right?
wait a minute.
Oh yeah, it's not.
Right.
It's a non-epic troublemaker. I
Yeah,
see.
it's a non-epic troublemaker in your discard pile, which turns into an epic when it comes into play. That's
Yeah.
That's clever. Yeah, that's interesting.
But is it worth it?
Well, There's only one copy in here, so clearly it's not the main idea. It's an interesting little trick. I mean, in principle, it is a troublemaker you can farm repeatedly for 1 point each time, but yeah, in principle.
Yeah, I figured. Beagle says it's an anti-farm tech. Yeah, I guess like the main use for that is getting rid of your opponent's troublemaker. Because I don't see any reason for this deck to care about epic troublemakers, other than that one, where you want to get rid of your opponent's epic so you can bring out your own stuff.
That makes sense. Yeah, and I was gonna bring up actually, because that's the one archetype. Well, I guess aside from there was one aggro deck. The one big archetype that was missing from this tournament was the farm deck. It's
because there's no Utopia in this tournament.
Well,
or Pancake.
Or Pancake. That's the one that I was going to bring up. Like, Pancake playing orange pink. Like, it is a virtual guarantee that is going to well, I would call it a virtual guarantee that that's what he's going to be playing at Continentals. And so I think it's a question that needs to be asked: is how this style fares against farm, and I guess particularly against his farm, because the farm that he plays nowadays is very different from. Let me find it. The farm's past. It is, of course, the kind of chaos farm list, built around Berry Punch and Spike and Gabby. So friend removal matters a lot more. Well, you don't need too much of it. There aren't that many friends in that deck, but they are important to how it functions. Troublemaker removal, as mentioned, matters a lot. Weirback remains as effective against that kind of thing, certainly. I personally think it'll be an interesting matchup between this style of deck and that one. Be a really interesting matchup.
I think this deck will win.
I think this deck will win. Why are you so confident?
Unicorns are good. Really good.
Yeah.
The farm needs to start face-offs too. Like, that's its own thing.
Yep.
I think that's one of the big reasons.
Like, yeah, Bugle points out. Pancake is publicly saying, this deck's gonna be bad." He's always down before Continentals, though. It is the trademark thing, and then Farm comes out and does very well anyway. Yeah. So it remains the axiom of this game: never count out Farm. Farm is always something to be considered. I'll say it. Yeah, that's what I'm looking forward to most about Continentals right now. Well, and probably a bunch of other new things that'll show up is where this deck and farm kind of wind up. Control versus farm has always been a super interesting matchup. Often is control favored, that's true, but it's often been purple control in the past, and purple control is very good against farm because of all the force movement, problem replacement that pink has got, and stuff like that.
Yeah, I guess white doesn't have too many tools against that. Is there any way to squeeze in problem replacement into this deck?
Well, I suppose Smile, Smile, Smile is in here. That is problem replacement.
One.
I mean, you can put in a couple more, perhaps, if you're thinking about. I mean, Bugle knew that Pancake wasn't going to be at this event. So perhaps this is a tuned version. It doesn't have as much anti-farm tech. Anyway, shall we move on?
Yeah.
Okay, that was number 4. Number 3 is
Beagle says, "Nah, Miss Wayne is your copies 2 and 3." Fair enough.
that's fair, yeah. Was Tom playing the format juggernaut, shall we say,
The
of
Trixie deck.
yeah, that's a legitimate descriptor. Not only is Trixie an important part of it, but the deck also has many tricks, and so could be described as Trixie.
Yeah, yeah. I agree with that assessment completely.
So you've actually played this deck before.
Yes. Several
Uh,
times, actually.
yeah.
Weird.
Tom's one loss in this event was to Grandpa's playing the control deck. So I'm interested, and I didn't watch that game. I'm interested to know from you, and I guess Grandpa's is here too, he can explain it as well, the reason that this deck would be vulnerable to that kind of style, if any, if it wasn't just bad luck.
Hmm.
Okay. Well, I'm going to let you finish that answer.
Oh, it's not like I started.
Yeah, well, like I said, so Grandpa's mentioned in the chat that it was a play area. Tom started the wrong starting problem of lacking lesson plans. But okay, I didn't want to interrupt you in case you were going to come up with an answer.
No.
Okay. Alrighty. So that would imply then that we probably shouldn't put too much stock in that particular game, and indeed, perhaps, perhaps this deck is not
So
vulnerable to that archetype.
before we make that conclusion,
Mm-hmm.
here's my question to GP. If he had not started with LP and started with Bug Ball, like you're supposed to, right? Uh, would this deck win that game? Or would it not win that game? Like, yeah, starting with LP hinders you a lot here, but we don't know what would have happened had he picked Bug Ball, right? Yeah, I guess it's hard to say without knowing what's in hand.
Yeah, like for my worth, I feel like this deck should do okay against farm in general because it being kind of combo oriented, or sorry, not against farm, against control in general. It being kind of combo oriented, it's broadly doing its own thing. It cares about the taxes stuff that the white versions of that deck run, of course, because it gets a lot of mileage out of its very cheap events, and is actually very, very light on removal. Just Spider Surprise? It's just Spider Surprise. And Shutdown, I guess.
Yeah.
So it cares a lot about that. But otherwise, it should certainly have a chance against a control-oriented list. Good point. That actually, yes, is from Grandpa's. That Garble is good. Well, not win condition, but a serious impediment as well.
Okay.
All right.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. So another, I guess, yeah, undecided question. That's gonna become.
I
I
hope so. I
I'm
hope
I'm.
so.
It makes me sad actually that I'm not doing commentary for Everfree this year because I get a chance to really uh spur that on. It. We're gonna be saying that on the con floor though. That's for sure.
Yes. And from now on Meticulous talks, that's what win condition is called.
But I think, yeah, other than that, let me look at historical versions of this deck. I don't know if Tom made any significant changes to it. Who was it? No one ran at Coco. You have to go back to Winnie City. Well, yeah, this is a 55 card version of it, so not really canonical. That takes us back to your list, which I guess is Grandpa's list, actually, isn't it? Minor changes. But yeah, this is broadly right. Yes, the levit. Oh, geez, Grandpa's straight up. Yeah, yeah. This is the levitation meditation is the change, and the worn out as well. Yeah, so very small changes in the event structure, but other than that, the same broad concept. Which means we've talked about this. I don't know about to death per se already, but some amount.
Yeah.
Should we move on?
Yep.
Alrighty. So that brings us to number 2, Joking Luna, playing Celestia Yellow Alicorns.
It's
What?
been a while, right?
So I did actually look. Let me find it again. I think the last time he played this deck was Ciderfest last year.
That's not that long ago, I guess.
Yeah, and it was. Let me look at it again. He's made some changes to it since then. Come on. Actually, oh yeah, he's made some pretty. Actually, let me look. The big difference. Yeah, he's made some pretty significant changes to it since then. The major differences being the removal of used to have training Twilight, the sort of conspiracy Twilight in here. He removed Princess Luna. That's a pretty big deal. The Tricorn Luna, and he added Twilight and Celestia study program. Other than that, event structure is broadly the same. The Friendship Bound is new. Actually, yeah, all the yellow events are new from the last time too. So it's interesting. It's a pretty significant. I guess, yeah, I'd call that a fairly significant departure.
This might be the first time I see where Friendship Bound in a deck. That card, I don't think ever saw any play.
Yeah. Blue, orange, yellow, or orange, purple, yellow hasn't been the most popular combo. But yeah, it's the last vestige of yellow remaining in this deck. And yeah, Grandpa's points out it would be a significant boon in this world of troublemakers. And cycling troublemakers. Just
Yeah.
don't care.
Yeah.
Care about them. Why not?
What troublemakers?
Yeah. So and I should point out as well that like it was Ciderfest, and then he's been playing this deck for a long time actually. If I go back, well, first time he plays a whole bunch of different things, but I know like a couple years ago he's been kind of tweaking this deck for a long while. Actually, last year it was all Ocellus by the looks of it. Anyway, it's been a fixture. And this is the first time he's achieved significant success with it.
Yeah.
Which is
I'm actually curious. Like this deck doesn't really have any new cards. I don't even see prize wheel, right?
Uh,
Yeah, there's no prize wheel in here.
there are no prize pool cards in here. You're right.
Like neither first or the second one. So what enabled this deck? Why did it go so high, and why did it not go so high before?
So I think Grandpa's has kind of brought it up a little bit. One of the big changes, I suppose, is that he's kind of embraced a more aggressive style in this tweak. The removal of Luna, uh, removal of some of the slower cards. We've come into a much more kind of, I don't want to say aggressive per se, but bigger, more impactful, immediate kind of style. So it's moved a little bit faster. Um, it definitely has good tools against troublemakers in its current state from the yellow, which obviously would have helped in this event.
Yes.
Let me actually look. His 2 victories. So his 1 loss was to Grandpa's. So actually, yeah, fair enough there. He won against Smithers, and he won against Roman. So the victory against Smithers is actually kind of interesting. Yeah, that would have been aggro versus aggro.
Well, if you get your Twi early, you will out aggro many decks, I would assume.
Yeah, that makes
The
sense.
global +2 power is extremely strong.
Or sorry, my apologies. I read that wrong. You're right, Grandpa's. His game was against Anemoy. I'm sorry.
So it's not Smithers.
No, it was Smithers. It was It
Smithers and
was
Roman. And Anemoy.
Anemoy instead of Roman. That's right.
Okay.
So yeah, I guess the win against Mill. Is that the game that I saw? No, I saw Anemoy playing Tom. So I didn't actually see this deck ever.
I really like that the song Twilight actually found its way into a deck.
Mm-hmm. Actually, yeah, there are a number of songs in here. I didn't notice that before.
Yes, there's a lot of songs in here. There's
That's
5 of them.
yeah, makes a lot of sense.
Well, I'll imagine that's the reason there are a lot of songs of them. Well, part of the reason, right? It's just there are a lot of good songs, and like, if I had to guess, maybe that's why We're Friendship Bound was included. Because Joking was probably thinking about playing this song twice, and that's a song that's in the colors. Has some good stuff in it against troublemakers.
Yeah, yeah.
Now we need the song Spike here.
That would be a reach because he's white. That would be
I don't think it stacks with the song Twilight, so
it.
it would be
Wouldn't.
redundant to have
No.
both.
Yeah.
It would be cool if you could, like, if Twilight added an extra one, like when
Yeah.
you
Yeah. Yeah.
you'd get 4 effects instead of 3, and 3
It's
effects
true.
instead of 2.
Like I was thinking about that for a second, how multiple Twilights work, but yeah, not how it works. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean, hold on. Is that not how she works? Can you, if you have 2 Twice, and she replaces your choice with 2 choices, can you use second Twi to replace one of those choices with another 2 choices?
I don't think so. A
That
card like
that's
that would be worded like if one effect of a song card would happen, you can replace it with 2 effects on the same card or something like that.
It is a replacement modifier, and a replacement modifier cannot replace itself. But when it's 2 Twice, it's like 2 distinct modifiers. Yeah.
it's
There,
it
there's
is admittedly
in
close.
interpretation.
Yeah, like I feel like this is perhaps coming from someone who doesn't. If you would choose an
No,
effect
she does say
while playing,
Who
fair
included
enough.
that? Who included that? Remove those two words.
That's a shame. Oh, so that means she doesn't copy she doesn't affect copied songs. That's unfortunate.
Yeah, she doesn't. I actually wonder if this was maybe played wrong at some point because I would not think of that.
There is Headmare in here. Yeah, it's
Yes,
possible that would have come
and
up.
like half of the songs are two cost, more than half. No, half. No, more than half. It's
Yeah,
3 out of 5. Damn, that's unfortunate. Wow.
maybe something will have to. Well, we'll see what joking plays in the future, but yeah, it's something to keep in mind.
When choosing, then playing. Yeah.
Anyway, have we adequately answered your question about why this deck worked or not,
Ah.
or did we just talk about random stuff and avoid
Yeah.
answering that?
Yeah, I don't like. I guess the meta enabled it.
Yeah.
But at the same, like, okay, this deck won against the blue yellow though.
Hmm.
Blue yellow was a thing before, even more so than now. So like, hmm,
So
maybe their answer is Joking Loon doesn't play this deck enough. Hmm?
I think like and Grandpa's kind of mentioned this. The chat has scrolled past a bit. Like so, the changes in this deck from its last version are quite significant. Like I think this is a much better version of it.
Yeah.
We got
Also,
rid
do you
of a
agree
lot
with
of
GP
the.
that Tranquility could go a long way here?
Oh yeah, there's no tranquility here. That's huh. That would be huge. Yeah, you can search up study program with that. Oh yeah, that seems like an obvious inclusion. But yeah, so there's that. Yeah, the game with Smithers was just one game. Shouldn't read too much into it. Yes, sometimes variance happens. You get a bit lucky.
Sure.
Yeah, I think it would be most correct to observe at this point that the deck always had potential. It was always fun to play. It was always interesting, and this is just a much better version of it.
Yeah. Okay.
That yes, also may have been somewhat well placed against uh, what we saw here in this tournament.
Cool.
So, I guess what I'm saying is, I want to see more of this. I want to get better answers about how where this actually stacks up on against the tippy top decks.
Yeah, absolutely. As I said, maybe Joking Luna doesn't play this deck enough.
Could be. We'll see. Sue, I actually should mention this is like Yoki Luna is having a pretty good year. With this, with the Changeling deck breaking into Adventure, um, he's having a pretty good year on both fronts.
Yeah.
So yes, let's move on to number one, which we've already mentioned several times. Grandpa's control list. This one from the Chris. Well, yes, from the other side, white mane, as opposed to Bugle's pink mane, and thus no pink here. Instead, white orange, the last of the newfangled white orange lists that I had seen. This is the one that I actually saw get played. One thing that I should also mention, I'm thankful for Joking Luna for. One great thing about watching tournaments when someone's playing on Octagon is that it allows a spectator to watch more than one game at once if you're logged into both TTS and Octagon. And I did that a few times during the tournament. Watch his game on one monitor and someone else's game on TTS on a different monitor.
Okay, but the way you solve that in TTS is that you have all of the games happen in the same lobby, like in real life. And there is actually an LPCCG 6-person table, I think. Or
Huh.
it might be 8-person table. We just never use that because it's
You,
it's something to behold.
yeah. No, you could actually do that. If everyone's in different Discord channels, then.
Yeah.
Huh.
It's like in real life. You have tables. And well, I guess it's easier for other players to like see what others are playing.
Which, again,
But
that's like in real life.
well, in real life, it's like people are sitting at different tables.
Right. Yeah, you can't
When
move
you're
your.
playing, you can't really look at other games and see what
Right.
they're doing. But still. But yeah, there is a 6-person table, which was intended for like draft stuff.
Right. And then what you need is some kind of Discord extension so that when the volume of a certain channel gets over a certain level, everybody can hear it. And then it's exactly like the real tournament. Uh,
Wow.
anyway, let's see. I think Grandpa's and Bugle have already told us a bit in the chat of what these decks are all about. I mean, I would say, to the point of whether this meets the qualifications for orange, Garble's a pretty important card. Doesn't matter how many cards are in there. If an orange part of the deck is an important part of the deck, then it's an orange deck.
So in that sense, all combo decks are white.
Yes,
Okay.
unless there's no. Well, first of all, unless the card's aloe, and second of all,
That's not true. We signed the treaty, curse it.
that's true. That's true. Yeah, it's a good point. Good point. That joke does not exist anymore.
Legally not allowed to say it. Legally. See, even GP.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Fair enough. Um.
Seize your rebellion here and now. Anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. So there's that. Let me see. Yeah, and then much talk about latest greatest creation, which is true. Grandpa's is using it in a different way with his many singleton events. Wishboard, as he likes to say. Is indeed true.
Wishboard?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, his vernacular, not mine. Well, I did just say it, but. Oh, right. Sorry. Yes. Okay. Right. It is which cards go in the. Yeah, I see. Okay. Yeah, which cards go in the sideboard that varies between the two of them. Yeah. So the one time that I did see this deck in play, as I mentioned, the control lock when it comes in is something to behold, especially with the cherry on top of Garble coming in at the end. Yeah, it is with the opponent forced to give you a big pile of AT every turn from your unicorn tokens at Lord Tirek, and it just they don't get anywhere because you cycle a troublemaker, and you also
Yeah.
force them to discard cards, and it is exactly the kind of thing that's both disgusting and wonderful at the same time, and I love it.
Beautiful.
Yes. Yeah, and GP's 3 wins in this event were Joking Luna, Tom, and Bugle, which is to say, I think those are like the 3 people in the tournament below him. The 3 entrants with 2 and 1 lists.
I really like that comment. My 6 sideboard cards are blah 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 blah. Whichever one I want the least stays in the deck.
Hmm.
It's it's so funny because it's usually the reverse of
Right.
how
That's
sideboards
that's
work.
the inversion of
Yeah.
sideboarding. Interesting.
Uh, so good.
But yeah, I think this deck is super duper cool. I want to see more of it. I want to see, as I mentioned, how it stacks up against farm and against other of the big ones in the event. The conclusion from this tournament, and admittedly, we still got like a month and a half to go until Continentals. Well, more like, well, wait, no. Let's see, all of July, most of August. Yeah, month and a half. Yeah, to go for Continentals. But the meta is looking real fun. Super unsettled.
Yes, agreed. I am very excited that I'll be able to participate. I'm like looking forward to it so much.
Yeah. And yeah, I'm pretty sure like this is the last significant sort of quote unquote sanctioned tournament for Continentals, right? Certainly that I'm aware of.
Yes.
Like there may be a Coco,
Yes.
but yeah, okay. So yeah, Meta's
Like
got
even
a
Galacon is in September now, so
yeah, all
even
right,
Europe doesn't count anymore.
yeah. So the Meta's got a lot of time to simmer, and uh, we'll see what comes out of it. Ah, right. And Grandpa has mentioned that yeah, the wide aggro, which is to say, I assume the Thorax mini token list that was talked about earlier, probably yeah, a big. Now think about it, yeah, that would be a fairly big concern for this deck. You're missing removal. Sure, it's going to work. Doesn't even work against small things. Uh, yeah, fair enough to point out. Isn't a whole lot you can really do against that kind of stuff. Yeah, we'll see.
Yeah.
Alrighty, so those were our 8 decks for this event. You have anything you want to add before we sign off?
No.
Okay. We are going to be back on the 8th of July with something else. We aren't going to have any tournament results to talk about, so it's going to have to be.
Oh no.
Yeah, we're going to have to actually think of some content. But well, that's for us to decide. I'm going to say thank you to everybody for coming out. We had a wonderfully active chat this stream. Thank you so much. If you want to look at any of our past content, you can find us over on YouTube. I'm going to throw the link in the chat right now. Yo, that's it over there. We've got all of our past streams, past tournament coverage, as well as last couple of years of invitationals. Invitationals is coming up, by the way. Going to be in September. That whole proceeding is going to start probably right after Continentals. there's a lot to do this year for it, so I'm gonna start like as soon as possible, probably. Um, so look forward to that as well.
Yep,
In the
very much
meantime,
so.
I have been Cursor Chords,
I've been Hifrog.
and we'll see you in a couple weeks.
Bye.